Hey guys, welcome to another session of FFBE Global News. So it seems that Gumi likes to do this now, to split the news up into 2 days, one pre-maintenance, one post-maintenance. Now I don't know if this is consistent or not, and it probably takes some time getting used to, but at least it seems that they're releasing stuff that will be released on Thursday, on Wednesday, and then most likely releasing Thursday's news for Friday's events. I really don't think this is I don't know what I think about it, but anyways, to round off our week with Nalu's story event, we have our second part of our story event. So going forward, like I've said in previous videos, we're gonna get these crystal caves, which after you beat the very end mission, usually the 85 one, not counting the future possible vortex missions, the 85 one, you'll get these crystal caves. There are in total 8 of them, and each of them will give you 100 lapis after completion with all missions. So you get 800 lapis for free, which is really nice. And obviously you spend all your energy on week 2 for story events. If you're new and watching this and you're just like, oh man, you know, you've figured out that these crystals are really good because they'll make your unit stronger and better. But save your energy for week 2, because this is where you grind specific crystals for what you need. More crystals for the return of energy that you actually use. So also bring your units with rare drop rates, and also increase common drop rates or items. So the Great Raven's Cape, Zon, etc. Whoever you have, and yeah, bring them here. And part 2 of the news. Alright, so again, going off with this split, we have 3-star Espers unlocked following the maintenance of Thursday, August 16th, so that is tomorrow. So we have something to look forward to, but the rest of the news we'll still have to wait. So we have Diablos and Tetra Sylphid. Now, depending on where you are as a player in this game, so far we had 3-star Ifrit, Siren, Rama, Shiva, Carbuncle, Golem. We just recently got Titan and Lakshmi as well. All of these so far are relatively easy. Now, I would say that for the Espers coming up, they will be slightly more difficult. But if you had some difficulties in the past couple of Espers, these ones would be highly difficult for you. Again, I think for most veteran players or players who have multiple TMRs and whatnot, it's really just a matter of figuring out what they do and what kind of team chemistry you bring, and pretty much you can knock this out of the park. Again, all trials, not just Esper trials, will be tough for people who don't have enough TMRs or gear. Now, I know there are a lot of like really good, like, you know, what they call free-to-play strategy guides, or you know, it features like 4-star units and without TMR. They give themselves those limitations. Now, I would say that it could be possible. Again, if you're smart enough, you can figure this stuff out, no problem. But as usual, TMRs, they're there for a reason, for the grind, and if you get the TMRs, they will just make your life a lot easier. What I do want to do in this session of the news video is actually talk about them a bit, so you guys get a heads up of what to set up for tonight before the maintenance. So if you want to get on these Espers ASAP in the morning, then you could do that. Another thing to note, even before we get into the strategy, is that obviously we've had the Super Site expedition out for almost I think a week or 2. I've been seeing the green and black Super Sites, so yeah, I think everybody has been guessing like, oh yeah, these are the next 3-star Espers, like, no doubt. They were the same ones in order, unlocked in JP as well. Another thing to know is that in your dimensional vortex, the crystal of chambers, the chamber of crystals, you're gonna get the green and black one, and that I think you get 100 lapis for free as well, so if you complete all missions from it. So obviously do that. It costs 35 energy as it says there. I'm not quite sure. I think it is 35 energy. But you can get your crystals there. But I usually advise even new players, don't spend your energy on the Chamber of Crystals unless we get some half energy event. Otherwise, waiting on Super Site expeditions is probably the best bang for buck, at least for a really long time. Alright, so let's talk about them. One thing going forward before we talk about the strategies here for both of them is I am trying to expand my YouTube content, and been talking to a couple of my good friends on Discord, and you know, they really care about me. They really care about the channel. So you know, they had some ideas. But if you're on YouTube, feel free to contribute. So here's my thoughts. I'm thinking of most likely having different segments of FFBE. Now, I talked about this theory about basically so far all of my content has been game driven, as in I can only make videos based on what the game has given me. But you know, I want to be creative, I want to expand, I want to entertain you guys and give you guys different aspects of the game that maybe other video makers, content makers don't provide. But even if they do provide it, I would like to, you know, have that kind of service as well. And so at least two of my ideas, at least I don't know what to call these segments yet, but I'm thinking of one, like, would it be useful for you guys if I had you know, before going into a trial, I usually kind of show you my party, show you the espers, kind of give you a bit of my equipment preview, and even some of my espers and my strategies going forward. But would it help you guys if I, you know, made it more detailed strategy and going in and why I'm using this unit for what purpose, etc., etc. Like I said, I think this wouldn't be really, I think, important for veteran players, but I suppose even veteran players like this kind of talk, just discussing on strategy and different ways of thinking about certain trials. So if that is good, then you know, I could try something like that. So like a pre-battle kind of video. And another thing I think I kind of want to do is, as most of you guys know, when I'm making these videos, most of the videos are live. So I stream them and I record them. Another thing is been suggested is that you know, I maybe create not a Q&A session, but more of like a discussion. So you guys live can join in and ask questions or even give your responses, and we just talk about stuff. And what I'm going to be about talk about stuff is that, you know, so obviously I think organically a conversation will have a lot of random stuff too. It could have some jokes, etc., but mostly focused on like theory crafting, you know, like, so again, like what I said, like a trial's coming up, you know, what units should we use, how much damage do you expect to make per turn, etc., etc., all that kind of stuff. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about these ideas, and maybe you have other ideas. What would you like to see? That would definitely be awesome. And I know I should usually include this at the end of the video, but the reason why I bring this up right now is pretty much I'm going to be touching upon one of these theory crafting things, these subjects, as we talk about these espers. Anyways, let's move on. So first things first, Tetra Sylphid, 3-star. The missions, I'm pulling up the JP wiki. Obviously you guys all have access to it, but I think some people like hearing stuff more than reading stuff. And perhaps you're driving. I've gotten comments where people are driving and watching my videos, but they're not really watching, they're listening to it. So I think maybe audible cues and audible strategy might be good for them. The missions for Tetra Sylphid are clear. You get 5 green super sites, no items used, you get a 4-star summon ticket, and you have to evoke or summon golem for 5% trust Moogle. Finish off Tetra Sylphid with magic, you get 10 green super sites. Now, you know, some people may think that, oh no, nah, don't go for all missions, it doesn't really matter, you know, 10 super sites is nothing. Again, if you're a completionist like me and you do like seeing all the stars hit at the very end of the battle, you want to complete all missions, this is something to consider. I do usually consider trials with the thought in mind that I want to complete all missions, so this forces my team and team chemistry to be perfect for completing all missions. Tetra Sylphid is spirit, the race is spirit, so Mortrix and I were talking about it. I thought there would be a split like human and bird, but she's a spirit, so yeah, we don't have many spirit killers, and off the top of my head I don't think we have any units with innate spirit killer. But what we do have is Leviathan 2-star has a magic spirit killer, and Carbuncle 3-star has physical spirit killer. So whether you go with a magic team or a physical team, it is up to you, but you are limited on the killers. As you know, that killer is probably the most effective when it comes to killing monsters, but and then elemental weakness becomes second. Tetra Sylphid is weak to Earth by 100%, so you may have to focus on high spirit killers, but with Earth chaining options. Possibly chainers with Quake, but maybe going with a physical, 2 physical damage dealers with the Earth elemental weapons may be the way to go here. Maybe the way to go. It's immune to all breaks. And immune to all status ailments, so don't even bother. So possibly bringing a breaker to this battle wouldn't really help. So without a breaker, you pretty much want a buffer. Here's kind of the move set. So we have single target damage, physical, 5 times physical damage. Another one as well. A single target MP drain. A self-reflect, so going with I think black magic level 7 and under will reflect, or regular magic even. So even if you dispel, I think it does reflect it, I think. It has a single target snort as well. So from the moveset itself, we know that, okay, we have to bring a provoke tank. With a snort, I believe it comes at a 40% threshold if I'm correct. I think it actually says here too, so I'm looking at this so you guys actually get that information. If I can't find it, I think it's 50%. One of the thresholds, she snores, but apparently she only snorts once, so it might be good to have a dummy. So a bait unit that can provoke away that snort. And it says because you're gonna have to be soaking some single target damage. I think the damage itself shouldn't be that strong, the single target damage. A really well geared provoke tank, physical provoke tank, will be good enough. And obviously if you have evasion gear, that would just make your life a whole lot easier. But you know, it's up to you. Now I think what I'm reading here is you want to prepare a magic tank with fire and wind resistance. Wind resistance at least 150% wind resistance, or and fire resistance of 130%, because Tetra Sylphid could imperil your wind by 50% and fire by 30%. Wind damage 50% all resist deep. Okay, never mind. It's so you need 150% resistance for both fire and wind. Now that's not a real problem if you can get really high elemental resistance on your magic tank and then buff those 2 elements, which Marie and other green mages are able to dual cast, like Bar Fyraga and Bar Iroga, which is a 70%, 50 to 70% buff. That's quite a lot, so I think it should be no problem as long as you have those things covered. For myself, I think what I'm going to go with is going to be a Weakened Rain, obviously, as my magic tank, but I'm going to cover those elements myself, so without buffs. So I'm not gonna bother with the buffs, so that saves me 1 unit space. I don't need to bring a green mage or even Carbuncle. In that case, Carbuncle does have those 2 skills, I believe. It might be Barblazaga though, so you just double check, but yeah, cover those 2 elements. Everything else, otherwise, it would be more wind damage. She does have an AoE, 400% magic damage. I think this would be neutral elemental, but also causes blind, silence, and petrify. So it's AoE, so either you have your units already protected by status ailments, or you have to do preventative measures. So someone like Mystia, yeah, other units that can prevent these status ailments before they even happen. That might be very important. Attack and magic debuffs, they're not super big unless you want maximal damage. And so since there's no time on the clock to beat Tetra Sylphid, as in you don't need to beat her really quick. If you can sustain the battle, you don't really need to worry about the debuff. But again, if you have CG Nicole, LB removes all debuffs, or you can have units with a preventative. So if you don't want the debuff on you, just have that prevention set up. So someone like Schilt might be able to do that for you. It seems that it seems that at least for this battle, it's not too difficult. You might want to bring some Dispel as well. She can buff herself for 50% for all stats, which could in turn make the fight a lot more difficult if you're not sustaining the damage. So at least for me, I'm probably most likely going to go with an evasion provoke tank, and on the turn of the snort, I'll most likely sacrifice someone that I'm not really using during the battle. Yeah, and I'll be covering all the elements with a magic cover with Awakened Rain by himself, so it really saves up a lot of unit slots and a lot of rolls. I'm gonna go full TMR on this one. For Diablos, he becomes it's arguable that both of them, you know, some people might have difficulty with one or the other, or maybe even both. But again, like I said, if you have the right gear, if you've been playing a long time, you should have a ton of gear. That these espers should be almost half jokes, alright? Half jokes. Requirements, basically your missions are going to be clear. You get 5 black super sites, finish with an LB, you get a 4-star summon ticket, summon Carbuncle for 5% trust Moogle, and 5, oh man, party of 5 or less for 10 black super sites. So like I said, it could be difficult, but if you have enough gear, or if your units have are able to cover multiple roles, that would make your job a lot easier. One thing actually I should note is that Tetra Sylphid has 70 million HP. At the moment, the other stats are not available, at least from the JP sources. But Diablos has 80 million HP. Now, it might seem like it's a lot less than someone like Lakshmi, which had, I think, 120 million HP. But Lakshmi had also really weak defense. Now, Diablos and Tetra Sylphid both have higher defense and spirit than Lakshmi, so yeah, it would change the battle for sure. Most of the problems is that these guys do multiple things that you have to set up for, so like elemental attacks and status ailments, etc. So he is weak to light, as you can imagine, because he is dark, so you want to go with the opposing element. Weak to light, so I think someone like DPS units like, I was talking to Morchix about this as well, Enhanced Tidus might be really nice, because Tidus has innate Demon Killer, so with enough Demon Killer materia, he could be really good with a light elemental weapon. Other units like Sephiroth and Orlandu, who imperils light while hitting, would be really good as well. So, you know, a 50%, 60% imperil is going to be really strong. But if your Tidus is enhanced with quick hit, it has a higher modifier, damage modifier, and with more Demon Killer, potentially your output in damage is more. But it's up to you, depends on if you're a Tidus quick hit chainer user, or if you're a Orlandu Sephiroth kind of chainer. I myself, I'm not quite sure who I'm going to go with at the moment. The problem is I have 2 Tidus, 2 Sephiroth. I can do the chaining on myself. But the problem is my Tidus, I only have 1 enhanced, and I'm not gonna enhance the other one just for this battle. For Sephiroth, if you're gonna go with him, go with the Heavens Wept for 60% light imperil on Diablos. Obviously, wield light weapons on your Sephiroth, and then go Aeolian Onslaught, which is from a 4.8 times physical damage modifier with the Heavens Wept. It'll go to a 12 hit instead of a 7 hit, 12 hit 5 times mod with Aeolian Onslaught. So you do more damage that way. Imperil first with Heaven's Wept, and then start chaining with Aeolian Onslaught. If you're manually chaining, you'll probably need some practice, since Aeolian Onslaught is an Onion Knight hit frame, which is harder to chain than something like Divine Ruination frames, which is the Heaven's Wept. If you're going with Orlandu 7-star, the job is going to be a lot easier, just because Orlandu right now has a 7-star form, so he has a lot more attack power, and then that would probably be the best unit to go for would be Orlandu. You're gonna make Diablos cry. But before you kill him, you do need to prepare yourself. So he is vulnerable to blind. Okay, vulnerable to blind, so that might help you out if you don't have an evasion tank. But he's also resistant to all breaks, but vulnerable to defense breaks. So you would most likely want to go with a physical damage dealer, break him, and yeah, like I said, Sephiroth, Orlandu, Tidus, anyone that could wield a light elemental weapon but has either imperils or killers in their kit. we have a single target hit, 16 times physical damage mod, which is really high. All right, so the highest damage I think Tetra Sylphid had was a 5 times. This is a 16 times. It's no joke. If you're not going with an evasion tank, you'll definitely have to. Well, you can't break him, but you'll need some buffs. You'll need some buffs, buffs and guarding on proper turns. But he wails on you pretty hard. He has a single target death. It's a 60%, but why even risk it? So make sure your provoke tank or provoker has safety bit or Genji shield to prevent single target death. Unless you have re-raise on them like all the time, but again, I don't think that's as efficient as just, you know, having safety bit or Genji shield. Safety bit and Genji shield, if you're new, they can be bought with star quartz at a chocobo, fat chocobo exchange. It has a single target 50% HP damage. I think this is like something like Gravaga or something. It's fixed, so it's just gonna soak the 50% of your HP. Has an AOE. I think this is Gravaga. AOE 75% HP damage. So again, depending how much HP you have, it just takes it right away. So make sure everyone is healed, especially for further hits down the road. He has AOE, it's a magic, AOE dark damage with poison, so it's good to have some status ailment protection. He has also blind, paralyze, and stop AOE, so be careful of that. I plan to bring a Zargaboth enhanced for this battle instead of CG Nicole, just for the stop prevention and the paralysis prevention. I will take care of the blind myself through gear, but yeah, so just be careful of the stop. I mean, you can bring Ayaka to cure the stop every time he does it, and anytime he does it, but I think it's more efficient just to prevent it. So Mystia would be a really good option for this one as well, actually. If your Mystia is your magic tank, she'll be able to do magic cover and do this as well. He has 145% dark damage, AOE attack. It's also magic, so as long as your unit can cover a lot of magic, you're good. So at the very end, he also has a 100% dark debuff. So your magic tank would need 200% dark resistance in order to make the fight easier. Now, again, like I said, whether or not you go with 200% innate, like from gear and equipment, or you buff up your dark resistance all the time. So maybe 130%. Let's say you're going with CG Nicole as a buffer. 130% dark resistance on your magic tank, and then keep the dark and light resistance buff up, so 70%, so it adds up to your 200. AOE 130 dark damage, so a lot of magic damage that is dark damage, and I think that's all the dark damage he does. He doesn't do single target dark damage. Oh, he does actually. So he does single target dark damage, but they're all magic. So if you have your provoke tank, all he would have to be he'd be a physical tank, or he could be an evasion tank, and he has to have a death resist, and that's pretty much all you have to care about. Everything else should be covered by your magic tank. Let's see, there's a 50% AOE debuff, so a break on your team, all stats. Again, have either you ignore it, you dispel it, or you prevent it. It has an AOE random effect. It has a dispel self, heal self, and then attack and mag buff himself. So if you don't have the damage covered, you might want to dispel him instead. Let's see here. Self 100% physical damage barrier. I'm not quite sure what that looks like. When I fought him on JP, and even I fought him recently again, I didn't really encounter too many problems with Awaken Rain and a Provoke evasion tank. Which is again what I'm gonna go with, at least for the 2 tanks. So my team would most likely be Zargaboth for buffs and ailment protection. Two damage dealers. Again, I don't know whether or not to go with Tidus and Sephiroth, and then 2 tanks. That would be my 5 units for this one. So anyways, that's it. Those are kind of the things you need to cover. Hopefully that has been helpful. Again, obviously if you heard this and you're just like, oh man, it's really hard to follow because I'm just like reading stuff and talking about stuff really quick. Again, the information is available, so definitely go in and research it if you need. And I kind of told you what my party's gonna look like. I don't know what my physical damage dealers will be for Tetra Sylphid specifically, but I'm not quite sure yet. I think most likely I'm gonna go with a physical damage dealer. But again, because no one has spirit killers, I might, I don't know, I might go with Leela for Tetra Sylphid because Leela is super broken. I might just go with her. She's just quick. She's just really quick. Again, just because they're 100% weak to Earth does not mean you have to be stuck to Earth or light, right? You could imperil other elements as well. It's just that if you take advantage of those elemental weakness, you could add to that. So Diablos being 100% light, too weak to light, you could add more to that if you use like Sephiroth, Aeolian Onslaught, Sephiroth the Heavens Wept, or Landu's Divine Ruination. You can make it 100, 160, 150% light weakness. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, whether or not you would like to see more videos like this one. Again, I don't know how it's gonna play out yet. If you guys have ideas and share it with me, I'll definitely take it into consideration because, like I said, I'm looking for ideas and I'm brainstorming of what these segments will look like so they're mostly beneficial for you guys. Anyways, that's the end of this video. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys enjoy the week. Hope you guys enjoy the week of stuff, and I hope that tomorrow we're gonna get some interesting news. Anyways, I'll see you guys later.